Jazakallah, very intriguing and interesting, and again, expanding topic. Just have a couple of questions. Maybe I'll start with Dr. Aziz. You've been involved in, through the government work of genomes. How are you balancing the legal aspects and ethical aspects of gene sequencing? Can everybody go and get their gene sequenced, and employers and all of that? How's that coming along?
A very interesting question. So there's two perspectives on this, the Canadian perspective and the American perspective. So in America, you can go to private companies, get your genome sequenced, do whatever with it, and you're responsible for whatever happens. In Canada, the laws are a lot more stricter, and consumer genomics is not a thing. For a project like ours, the crux of the whole project is in the consent of the patient. So the most important part of the project is to get the patients consented right and make them understand how their data will be used and how it will not be used. So that was the main thing, how we kind of dealt with it. But that's educating the patient of the benefits and the potential harms is important. And we find that in a study like this where there's impact on humanity, people in general are good, and they are willing to help as long as you can safeguard some of their concerns. So yeah, I'll stop here.
Jazakallah. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be exploding, and we don't know how far it will go. Another question for you, interesting question, is whether environmental factors or stress, food, is there any impact on the genome?
Very short answer. Of course, it is a combination of your genome and your lifestyle and the environmental factors. So of course, you could be prone to something and it be emphasized by the environmental factors.
And in the COVID realm, have you seen any genetic basis of this so-called long COVID that you may know of?
So long COVID is still a mystery. We're trying to figure out, how much of it is long COVID, how much of it is disease that existed anyway and exaggerated by COVID. But yeah, there is some genetic background to the illness, the severity of illness, for sure.
Can you answer this shortly?
CRISPR and ethics. It's a long conversation. I will just give you an anecdote. When I started my PhD, I went to Khalifa Rabi before I started and was terrified because I was doing a PhD in genetics and was worried about the idea of playing God and things like that. And he told me that everything has a good and a bad, can be used in a good or a bad way. That includes the atomic energy, and that includes genetics. So, and the other thing he said was like, याद रखना कि आखिर में खालिक खुदा है और वो चाहता है वो होता है. So go ahead and do your PhD as long as your intentions are good. So CRISPR has a lot of potential for curing cancer and other disease, but obviously it has implications otherwise as well.
Jazakallah. Any questions on the ladies' side?
Yes, we do, and please, Dr. Aziz, stay right here. The question is, what do you see as the biggest gaps in research skills with the huge amount of genomic data available, for instance, statistical analysis, bioinformatics skill? So basically just asking a question on what are the biggest gaps in research skills?
Are there any gaps in genetic research still left?
Huge gaps. I mean, we are just scratching the surface here. I mean, as you said, 3.2 billion bases. And this idea of we used to have that only 5% of our genome is useful, and it's not. We're finding every day that there are areas in the genome, the epigenetic work people talked about, more and more of the genome is involved. There are still portions of the genome what scientists have dubbed as dark genome, just like the dark web, where we have no idea what's going on. We still have to figure out. So early days, lots and lots to do still.
Another question is asking for examples of how genetic testing has been used or will be used for medical treatment.
For genetic testing used for medical treatment?
For medical treatments?
Yes, how genetic testing can actually impact medical treatment.
Yeah, so I gave a few examples in my talk in oncology and others. So again, once we can sequence an individual genome, we can then compare it to genomes of other people who may or may not have similar symptoms, similar disease, and try and figure out whether there are causal agents within the genome that are responsible. And once we know what these are, we can then target them for drug targets. We can target them for other therapies, including CRISPR.
Jazakallah. Yeah, I think in almost all fields, even in cardiology, certain medications may be used based on the genetic makeup of an individual. Jazakallah for the questions. Dr. Nadia Sahaba, do you have some announcements?
I do have one question for Dr. Nusrat, but is there time?
Probably not.
No? Okay.
Apologize. Dr. Nadia Sahaba, I think she has some announcements.
Not a problem.
Amma ba'du fa'uzu billahi min shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah, we come to a close for the first session of day 2 of Muslim 23 conference. Alhamdulillah. So now we will proceed on to lunch in Griffin rooms A and B, just like yesterday. Lunch will be served at 12 noon to 1:30 p.m. Following that, we will move on to Osprey and Ibis rooms upstairs for Zohar and Asr prayers. Prayers will start sharply at 1:45 to 2:15 and end at 2:15 p.m. For the afternoon, we have a robust program, as you see on the program pamphlets. Inshallah, the parallel sessions will start at 2:30. The first parallel session will be from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. There are multiple parallel sessions going on. There will be mental health matters in rooms Ibis and Osprey for men and women. Complementary medicine will proceed on in Griffith rooms C and D for men and women. We'll have Abdul Salam Medical and Science Research poster session in Griffin Ballroom E. This will also include career path planning and mentorship panels for students, medical students, Waqf-e-Nau, scientists, and other professionals. We'll have biology and medicine kitchen for kids for boys in Griffin B and for girls in Griffin A. Following right after that, we will move on to parallel session 2 that will start at 3:30 and will go on till 4:30 p.m. For a women's only session, we will have Let Food Be Thy Medicine in Griffin C. And for men only session, we will have Pain Management, Drug and Non-Drug Treatments in Griffin D. We will continue on with the Abdul Salam Medical and Scientific Research poster session in Griffin E, continuing with Career Paths Planning and Mentorship panel for all students, scientists, and other professions, as well as Waqf-e-Nau. That will also include Jeopardy for kids. For boys, it will be in room Ibis, and for girls, it will be in room Osprey. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Now I'll request our chair, Hazrat Hanif Saab, to please come to the podium for his comments and lead us with dua at the end. Jazakallah.